Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Southern Gateway Chorus live stream. My name is Zach Coleman.
And I'm Joe Hunter.
And we decided to go a little out there with the stream this week, as though the two of us have a problem being out there. And we wanted to talk about what barbershop looks like outside of the Barbershop Harmony Society.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. We have our views as insiders, and it's like inside baseball or anything else. Or
Sure.
If you look at anybody inside of a hobby that is as gung ho as barbershop is, it looks a little bit different than what people on the outside think of it.
Right. Think of it as like model trains, right?
Yep.
You look at people who are really into model trains, and you're like, "Whoa, guys, it's just a train." But to them, it's a way bigger thing, right? So it's the same kind of parallel to that. With us, it's like, people are like, "Oh, it's just some music, right?" But it's our music, and it's super cool.
Right. Well, I mean, that's right, Zach. That's one of our jokes, right? It's just a hobby.
Right. Exactly.
Right? We always say it's just a hobby right about the time there's somebody bleeding on the stage. we're just about to kill somebody, and we go, "Hey, it's just a hobby. It doesn't matter." Or someone is weeping because they didn't win a competition.
But the thing I find humorous about it is, by the way, we are still completely live. If you have something you want to talk about in the chat, let us know. We will get with you.
Yes.
I find it humorous that in the barbershop world, it has grown massively and turned into this brand new thing. It's a very young thing. The younger people are doing these weird chords that are not as barbershop, and that's like our vision of barbershop is, ringmasters and stuff like that, right? And to the outside world, it is exactly the same as it has always been. It's Main Street, but without the pop medley.
Right. Well, it's Main Street, which and all Main Street is is recycled Dapper Dans of Disney World.
Right. Exactly.
So that's been the same since 1956.
Right.
And it's all the same, and that goes back to the Music Man and probably before that.
Speaking of which, let's go ahead and jump into this real quick. Just to show you, I mean, this is one of those things that, I mean, we'll talk about it more afterward, but this is one of those things where, just a night out at the theater, right, could end up being a barbershop experience for somebody, and they might not know what it is. So let's get into it. This is quite a few years ago, not that long ago, I guess. It was me, Paul Gilman, Mike Bell, and Mike Conley as the quartet from the Music Man. Check it out.
Say, ice cream.
Ice cream, but I don't sing it, man.
Okay, talk then. Down here.
Ice cream.
Talk slow.
Ice cream.
There, you see, singing's only sustained talking. Now you.
Ice cream.
Now you right here. Ice cream. Now you, sir. Ladies, from now on, you'll never see one of those men without the other three.
Oh, Professor Hill, that's where you're wrong. Those men have hated each other for 15 years.
Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. How can there be any sin insincere? Where's the good in goodbye, goodbye? Your apprehensions confuse me, dear. Puzzle and mystify, tell me why. the old song. Light a rose, I'm home again, Rose, to get the sun back in the sky. Light a rose, I'm home again, Rose, about 1,000 kisses shy. Ding dong ding, I can hear the chapel bell chime. Ding dong ding, at the least suggestion I'll pop the question. Light a rose, I'm home again, Rose, without a sweetheart to my name. Light a rose now, everyone knows that I am hoping you're the same. So here is my love song, not fancy or fine. Light a rose, oh, won't you be my light a rose, oh, light a rose, oh, light a rose.
Dream of love, dream of them, dream of a love song, and do I love you? Oh yes, I love you, and I'll bravely tell you, but only when we dream again. Sweet and low, sweet and low, how sweet the memory, how long ago, forever, oh yes, forever, will I ever tell you I know. Will I ever tell you
And there we were. Yeah, that was a fun experience for me. And it
Nice
just,
quartet, great singer.
which one? No, I really liked that group. It was fun. It was fun to sing with. It was easy to sing with, right? Because it was a Mike Bell that I knew was going to have it. It was a Mike
Yes.
Conley who I knew was going to be on point all the time. It was a Paul Gilman who I knew was going to be on point, and I was
Right.
singing tenor. This was before I started singing tenor for actually. So
Ah.
so that was fun. But my favorite thing about it was just the difference in I don't know how to say it. I guess the difference in the style of prep for this kind of thing. Whereas I've done theater stuff for a long time, and we showed up. We got together a couple weeks ahead of time and learned all our music. We had a couple of rehearsals, just the four of us, And when we walked in, we had everything learned. We were ready to go. And I guess it threw some people off because that's not usually, depending on the production, a thing that a lot of like the musical theater folks do. They get together, they learn it together, they
Right.
go through it the way the musical director wants it. And we got together and said, "Now we're going to go ahead and do this." And Paul Gilman fixed a whole lot of the chords that were 3-part or empty or not great. And it was just a lot of fun. But I think that's one of the things is that the audience sees, oh, old-timey barbershop quartet, and the cast sees, whoa, that's not what I thought it was going to be, which was an interesting thing to witness.
Well, I mean, again, in most of these kind of productions, and it's true up and down the line,
Yeah.
whether it's local dinner theater or whether it's even up to Broadway, right?
Sure.
Is that people are used to seeing actors who do a little bit of harmonizing,
Sure.
right, as opposed to guys who harmonize,
Right.
you know.
And it's hard to describe without getting like nerdy and almost sounding really arrogant, like the actual sciences that go into harmonizing and sense and all that stuff.
Well, and there's been various productions, you know, we can get real nerdy about it, and like we can tell the difference between, you know, what we would say like is an A level or a B level quartet. But most people, most audiences who are not trained barbershop audiences can't really tell that big a difference, you know. And for a lot of in a lot of the productions, particularly more recently, Broadway has moved more and more towards dancing and spectacle, right?
Yeah.
So that I think as the shows have progressed, the Music Man version, the last one that hit Broadway like about 8 or 9 years ago,
Okay.
they did not use barbershoppers.
Sure.
They used, you know, Broadway people, but they used Broadway people because they needed to have a lot of dancing
Right.
and a lot of dancing skills. And
a lot of barbershoppers are not so much dancers.
barbershop and dance.
Well,
those
aside
two
from you, you're a dancer.
I am a terpsichorist from way back.
I'm sorry?
I also do some dancing, but
What? What was? Okay, I'll ask you later what that word means.
terpsichore is a fancy word for dancing.
Oh, well, you learn something new every day.
So a terpsichorist would be somebody who dances, but also kind of does a tra-la-la traipsing kind of
Okay.
dance. You know, which again, anyone who knows me realizes that fits me very well.
Oh, very well. You tra la la like a champ.
I
dude.
tra-la-la and traipse.
That's
I
right.
traipse.
And traipse,
I
yeah.
reverse the one.
But let's look
You
at some
know.
other. There are some other things out there that are a little more like, I want to say mainstream in the barbershop world. You and I were talking before the show. There's stuff like, you know, The Simpsons had a quartet on, and they sang their Baby on Board.
The B Sharps
The
doing
B
Baby
Sharps.
on Board.
That's right.
And that whole episode, for people who did not see it, it's really kind of a takeoff of the Beatles.
Right.
You know, they get together and then they get broken up by a Yoko Ono type character, and they try to they reform and do a concert on
the roof of
you know.
Moe's. Yeah.
Right. You know, so yeah, so it's kind of a takeoff of that. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that the quartet used there was an amalgam of guys from Metropolis and some guys from the West Coast.
Oh, right on.
Who ended up doing the music for Baby on Board.
I like that. So there's that. There was a barbershop quartet on Night Court.
Yeah, 139th Street
Right.
Quartet.
139 was on Night Court.
Which here's a spoiler for you.
Do it.
The baritone, Peter Nuschel, and 139th Street, who just recently won the Legacy contest as the greatest quartet to never win the international, but maybe the most influential of all barbershop quartets. The baritone, Pete Nuschel, who was in that quartet, has agreed to come on and spend some time with us, and we're going to, in the next couple of weeks, we will have Pete on for what I'm sure will be a lively evening.
Oh, sure.
Discussion.
And we'll get that scheduled and posted. But
Yeah,
so
we'll
they
get
were
that
on
posted.
there, and then
They were on there,
There
and
was
they were also on. They were on Cheers.
They were on Cheers. That's right. There was a
They
quartet
were
on
on Cheers.
Friends.
They were on. They were on Cheers twice. They were on Night Court once or twice.
I think it was twice. I could be
Yeah,
wrong
I think it
about
was
that.
twice. I think it was twice. Interesting story about Night Court, even though we don't have the video. They came in there, and I think the idea was to goof on the quartet. You know, they're being dragged in. The original premise, you know, it's Night Court, so they're being dragged in for having done something wrong. and they were going to start singing. And as soon as they started singing, Harry Anderson, who was the judge, was saying, "You guys are so terrible. 10 years in jail." The 139th Street in rehearsal started to sing, and Harry Anderson said, "I can't do that. I can't sentence them to anything because they're way too good."
Right.
And so they changed the script entirely
Right.
to turn it into, they got acquitted
I love it.
because they sang so good.
And again, it's just that, like, if you don't know what barbershop is, you're like, oh, there's 4 guys and they're singing 4 parts, but it does something different. Like, it's a different thing.
I will tell you, my main claim to fame of that sort is I'm on Sesame Street.
You're on Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Why did you put that on your resume when I interviewed you for the show?
I never included it. Well, because it's all of 11 seconds, although I still get royalty checks.
11 more seconds than I got. How did you wait? Okay. I want to get back to this, but like, tell me the Sesame Street thing. I need to know this.
Okay, so we're on Elmo's Playhouse.
Okay.
And we had gotten a call from Sesame Street Workshop. They said they needed a quartet to come in and do some recording, and they just needed us to record Sweet Adeline.
Okay.
So my quartet at the time, Reveille,
Yeah.
went into the recording studio in Midtown Manhattan, although not with our lead, John, because John's a chiropractor and didn't want to take time off from his work. So instead, we had Neil Dingle, if anyone out there knows Pookie, who sings with Mayhem and a couple other people. And so we were no longer Reveille, we were Reverie.
Nice.
We came in, and Neil joined us, and we sang with a click track and did about 20 seconds of Sweet Adeline. And the whole point is, it was during Elmo's sing-along. We were 4 singing pigs that came onto the stage singing "Sweet Adeline, my Adeline," and then we get yanked off the stage with a hook. So all we had to do was "Sweet Adeline, my Adeline," and we.
Oh my God!
I have to tell you, so we sang to a click track. Took us all of about an hour and a half worth of work.
Valid.
Post production, the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was many years ago, and up until last year, I was still getting royalty checks.
I am absolutely shocked. I did not know you were on Sesame Street. I'm really jealous now.
The best part of the story is every royalty check that came in, I would call John.
Yeah.
And say, "John, guess what? I got another royalty. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I hope you enjoyed your time in the chiropractic office."
Yeah. Good Lord.
And John would use some choice words.
Sure, choice.
Me.
So anyway.
But anyway, so yeah, so if you ever see Elmo's sing-along, I am singing pig number 4.
Well, there you go. And that's the thing too, right? That's just some kids saw a barbershop quartet of pigs.
Right.
But there are some bigger ones that are around these days, I think. I have this guy up here.
That would be Tom Shalhoub.
There's Tom Shalhoub. Yeah, he's right there. He's right.
It was somebody named Jimmy Fallon, I believe.
There, right. James Fallon, I think is his name.
Fallon. Actually, pretty decent singer. Pretty good.
Oh, yeah. They did great. So that's them. That's the Ragtime Gals. Tom Shalhoub, who's going to be on our show December 3rd. Mark your calendars. Tell all your friends. It's going to be a great show. And then to our left, they had a quartet on Family Guy a couple of times.
That might be the vasectomy quartet.
Might be, yeah. We can't play any of those 2 songs. I remember 2 of their songs. We can't play either of those on this show. And then down here, that is the quartet that has been on a couple of video shorts, or 3 of them actually, for the comic strip known as Cyanide and Happiness. Don't look that up if you're under the age of 18. And I don't know why I was like, oh, we can't play any of those. This one was actually probably okay. The reason they're all sad is because the last line they sing was, "If only we were doctors," which makes sense.
Right, and so the person on the table is gone. But
well, and the funny thing is the heart rate monitor rang the 7 of the chord. It was hilarious.
That's
which
awesome.
then turned into the key of the next song. It was great. It was very well done.
I mean, there are other versions. There are other things out here that we don't have pictures of. Things like David Letterman has had a quartet a number of times.
Yep.
Sing the top 10 lists.
Right. Yeah.
It was a David Letterman top 10 list. In one case, it was the top 10 things that sound better.
Yes.
Sound nicer.
Yeah.
When sung by a barbershop quartet, and included phrases like, "Hey, does this look infected to you?" Things like that. We're freezing our asses off in here, that kind of thing.
So tell me this. So you were playing some of it before.
Yeah.
It all sounded like they were parodizing other songs. Was that
Yes.
the gist most of the time?
Well, here's what happened. I knew those guys, and in fact, I was the first alternate. It just turned out that I didn't get to score that one.
But being a barbershop in New York, man, it opens up a lot of opportunities.
Yep, Steve Delahanty, who was in that quartet, is an arranger and a music judge. And basically, when they showed up, they were handed a list of these 10 things, and he had to, on the spot, arrange.
Oh, got it.
Okay, so what they did was they took little pieces and snippets of either tags or songs they knew.
Right, and just said, okay,
And
here's
so
the words now.
Which works with which one, kind of mix and match. But you find in the world of entertainment with that kind of thing, you have to be kind of nimble on your feet to do that.
Absolutely.
When I was with Reveille, we did something like that up in Montreal. We were competing, and then all of a sudden the society said, hey, there's a radio show looking for a quartet.
Right.
And it was in the middle of the competition. So we went to the studio, and they asked us, can you put a barbershop song to the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald? And so we did. So we arranged
to the what?
The Edmund Fitzgerald, and then they said, and then they said, well, can you take that melody and can you put Stairway to Heaven to it? And we said, yeah, sure. She's buying some gold and she's buying a stairway to heaven.
Good Lord.
And so we recorded all these bumpers, which the radio station I think still uses.
I love it.
So, but you have to be thinking really sharp on your feet for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
In the more, we'll say modern, the current era,
sure,
I think a lot of what barbershop quartets are used for is how Letterman, I think, created the template for this, which is
do a silly thing.
Well, it's barbershop. Barbershop by its nature is innocent and happy.
Right. Sure.
So let's put something nasty to it.
Right. What can we do to it to make it not right?
Yeah, that's
just comedy.
What Fallon does. I mean,
right. That's comedy in and of itself. Taking your expectations and turning them upside down. Right. You see barbershop as this sweet Adeline, and everyone's all like, happy and chipper, and everything's great, and then they sing "Baby Got Back," or "It Wasn't Me," right? Like it's.
I'm going to pop a cap,
right.
Any of these kind of things. I mean, there are some quartet things out there too that were done to rap music.
Right.
It's the same, and it's all the same joke.
Right. Exactly.
From my standpoint, it's all the same joke.
It's the exact same joke. Being in acting and in entertainment, right? Sure.
What's if you're writing a script? What's the main thing you always want to look for? Fish out of water.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And for a barbershop fish out of water, it is do something that's gritty.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if a barbershop quartet is doing something gritty,
then it's
pretty darn
weird.
funny.
Yeah, it just gets you the right way.
It can be really funny.
Yeah, man. So speaking of which, let's go to.
We've got a great example of that, don't we?
Well, we kind of do. So I don't know if it was the same show. It might have been. One of the people in the chat just said Fred on the Penn and Teller show.
Yes.
Let's see if that's what this is.
I think that's what we might just have.
If you want to hang out, you've got to take her out. Cocaine. If you want to get down on the ground, cocaine. She's alright, she's alright, she's alright. Cocaine.
And that was Fred singing Cocaine.
I I think they thought about competing with it the next year,
Oh
but I
yeah,
think
but it wasn't long enough.
they thought better of it.
Yeah. I love that concept. By the way, that was it. That was the one. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the Penn and Teller show. I knew it was on FX though, because it says that on the video.
Yeah.
I love that concept. It's exactly what you're talking about, the fish out of water, right? A barbershop quartet doing something like that. That was, I mean, the premise of Main Street's pop medley
Yes.
was, hey, these will be the good old songs 20 years from now, right? Like the point of it is, you know, back when barbershop was a thing, the songs they were singing were not the standards. They were the ones that were a little older than that. And as time progresses, it gets newer and newer. It just kind of stays along this because you never get anything new if you stayed at that era. So eventually, these are going to be the songs. And that was kind of the example.
So here's the interesting thing.
Tell me the interesting thing.
I want to address this, which is that, and this happened with 139th Street. It happened with the Letterman Quartet in its day. I don't know if it happened with Fred, but I'll bet it did. You know, so with particularly with the advent of social media now, you have, you know, again, the people who are dipped in it, the real dyed-in-the-wool barbershoppers, sometimes are going, what, they're making fun of us. Or, you know, that's not showing barbershop off to its best light. I mean, the 139th Street took a lot of heat about that for some of their Cheers performances. And the answer is, and you know what the answer to that is get a life. Because,
sure.
you know, we would have no exposure if we didn't have that.
Well, and that's yeah.
And also, I mean, isn't it just so much more, not only elegant, but I mean, it's just more mature. To kind of take the lump and laugh along and laugh along with it. I mean, it's a lot more gracious.
Yeah. That's the big thing, I think, is finding that melding of worlds, right? The big way to get exposure places. This is the point of the stream in the beginning of this was to find your audience where they want to be, as opposed to trying to convince them to go where you want them to be. And that's how you do it. Not everybody who listens to an amazing rendition of My Wild Irish Rose is going to be like, oh, wow. But if you get to them where they want to be, sing the song they know or they want, at least for like once. I'm not saying change everything about your style. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with My Wild Irish Rose. It's a classic. It's fantastic. Right. But the point is, if you can say, hey, just check this out. You know this one. Then you spark that. I know this. You spark that. Oh, that not nostalgia, but that kind of thing. That the familiarity, right?
Oh, the familiarity. You know, it allows the person to identify. It allows the person to maybe go back to a time and place, right?
And then they're more willing to go through the whole thing that way. And you know just as well as I do, if you're watching or listening to something or trying something that you've already decided you don't like or you don't want, there's no way you're going to get into it. So when someone hears the word barbershop, they're preconceived. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who says you shouldn't use the word barbershop. I think you should be very upfront about it. But when they've got that preconceived notion and you say that and then you do something that's a standard for you, it could be great. You could be singing Mamselle, right? Like something that's just automatically awesome. They're going to be like, oh, that was nice. Until they buy into the fact that it could be something more than they originally thought.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Peter Nuschel, once again, he'll be on soon, had this great line about, and if you remember, I mean, George Gibb talked about, you know, saying, "What's your bag?" And that was Pete's thing. Pete's other thing was, you know, if you're in a barbershop quartet and you're singing for the standard, you know, if you're singing for the general audience, does your performance pass the remote control test? And the remote control test is I'm sitting at home in my easy chair or laying in bed and I'm changing channels. And here comes a barbershop quartet. And Pete's thing is, we all would stop and listen for a second or two, but do you stay on it?
Right. That's a big thing for like marketing in general, is your competition is not just people doing what you're doing. It's people who could be doing, what else could someone do with their time, right? That's exactly right. That's a big point.
So you end up taking your shots. It's like the 139th Street getting asked to go on night court
Mhm.
and do something that was going to be a little negative about barbershop, and because they were so good,
They changed it.
Forced them to do something positive.
That's right.
You know, that's an awesome deal.
Yeah, man. And that's just it. I mean, the same thing with that. The same thing with the Ragtime Gals. The same thing with any quartet, like
Yeah, I mean, the B
legit
sharps
quartet that goes and does the Music Man.
Yeah, with the Music Man, the
Mhm.
B sharps on with the Simpsons was handled very, very reverently.
Yeah, I mean they
You know,
had a
and very,
banjo, but yeah,
but they were handled very well.
right.
And the Fallon quartets
Hmm.
always had enough underlying music and musicality to kind of not only redeem it, but to say, hey, that's kind of cool.
Right, exactly.
You know, and
Exactly.
I think we're better off being considered cool than being considered crusty. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
And before we bring this show to an end, let's also give the disclaimer: there's nothing wrong with everything that has been happening. Like there is no one out there saying everything needs to change to be new, but how do you get someone into a new food dish without giving them something they like first? Like if you want someone to get really into Indian food and they don't like seafood, are you going to give them the shrimp one or are you going to give them the chicken one?
Right.
Right?
Right.
You got to give them
Exactly.
that familiarity first. Or not first, but at
And,
least at some point, yeah.
but there's nothing wrong with saying also, I know that this music
Mhm.
is a little hokey. I know that
Yep.
this music is a little, you know, is a little bit bouncy and positive and everything else. That's
Yep.
okay.
Lean into the brand.
It's really okay.
Yes, it is.
You know,
Well,
so it's really interesting because, and we see, like we said, we've seen examples. We hope to see more
yep.
as we go forward. But you know, you take the opportunities when you can.
Sure. And we will definitely be showing as many of those as we can find in our future. For
Yep.
now, that's a show, Joe. I had fun. I hope y'all had fun. If you are so inclined and you are watching this delayed, go ahead and leave a comment down there. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you're looking for. Make sure you
Yeah,
subscribe if you haven't
there's
yet.
if you can remember any performances you'd like us to kind of dig up and
Oh,
show,
yeah.
we'd love to do that too.
Definitely. Make
And
sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit that notification bell if you haven't yet. Make sure you see every time that we are live or that we post something. That will be happening soon as well. No
and
details yet.
and once again, in a couple of weeks,
Mhm.
Peter Nuschel, with which, you know, anyone who knows Pete knows that
Yep.
he's not shy. And then and on December 3rd, then Tom Shalhoub. So we've got a couple of who I would consider, you know, barbershop royalty coming on. So
That's right. And furthermore, in December, the first weekend of December, we have a show that we're doing that
shameless plug.
yeah, it was I don't have all the information in front of me right now. It was originally a show that we've done every holiday season that was canceled. And then our team said, "Hey, I know that was canceled, but it was canceled because they lost some of their venues." And they said, "Hey, I know that was canceled, but like, what if we still came in and sang as a kind of benefit concert for
In our primary, in the venue that we've always sung in.
right in the church, and we'll do it as a benefit for the church, and free show, but asking for donations for the church." So that's coming up the first weekend of December. The second weekend of December will be our holiday show.
And more details to follow
And
on
more
that.
details to follow on all that stuff. So stay tuned to the stream. Stay tuned to our Facebook page. We'll get you all that information. And until next week, my name is Zach Holman.
And I'm Joe Hunter.
And on behalf of the Southern Gateway Chorus, I hope you all have a great week.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.